You know,
Maybe we should.
you do.
He could be an ambassador. Maybe he should be an
I think
ambassador.
he's the next president of Crumble.
Watch out, Jason McGowan. We got a new CEO coming.
Yeah, we should do like a season with him. It's a good documentary.
That would be I like that. We could drive him around in the pink crumble truck. Okay, write this down.
I'm writing it down
Documentary.
as we speak.
It's going on the calendar, people. It's going on the calendar.
It's 2 a.m. I've had a 6-pack of cookies.
Welcome to the Maguire Enterprise Podcast with a lot of J's. We got four
All
J's here.
baby.
We got Jason, Jeff, James, and John, also known as JB. And he's not a special guest, but he's a special guest.
He's first time.
He's his first time
on
guest.
podcast.
Normally, he's taking some pictures of us as we are doing the podcast or editing. But JB, John, is the man behind a lot of the podcasts, a lot of the editing, a lot of our sales and marketing content with Crumble, with Maguire Enterprise,
Soon to be
and
the Pickler.
soon to be the Pickler as well. And so we're excited to have John on here, and I'll let him tell a little bit about his story, and then we'll dive into the main podcast here, which is talking about sales and marketing in the franchise and business space, and all that encompasses. But we brought John on in October of 2023. Had what, maybe 5, 6, 7 interviews. There was quite a few.
A lot of talks, yeah.
A lot of talks, a lot of interviews, and ultimately just a fantastic individual that we hired. But you used to be an operator of a ice cream and dessert shop in the Nashua, New Hampshire area, and they scaled. Yes,
No,
definitely
no,
a competitor. They scaled from 1 to 3 locations in New Hampshire?
2 locations. It's technically, it is 3 because he separated with his brother-in-law who owned another business, but
You were
owns 2.
involved in the
I was
the
involved
2.
with 2. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay. So John's got that operational background, which we loved. But I'm going to turn it over to him and let him just give us a little synopsis of kind of like growing up, background, and what's led him to Maguire Enterprise.
Yeah. So I started really with an entrepreneurial interest. I wanted to own my own business. I got involved with the local ice cream shop at Hayward's, and I was really involved with just like learning everything that he's done. I was naturally attracted to people that started things from nothing and created things and build businesses just because I wanted to see how they did it, how they operated, how they worked, what they did on a daily basis, how they interacted with people. So that was sort of my start. Like throughout high school, I ended up being a manager at Hayward's, started getting involved with what they're doing in marketing, but also the day-to-day operations. And so I sort of stuck with that throughout my time at college. I did try other internships in marketing, but yeah, I ended up going to college at UNH. I went there for 2 years.
How was that, by the way?
I thought it was a good social experience, but I don't think it was the right thing for me. Like if I could take it back, like I wouldn't go to college. I actually ended up transferring out of UNH and going to Riviera just so I could work more. Instead of, because I was going at UNH, I was going
Were you commuting?
back home. Yeah. Well, I was living in UNH, but I was coming back home every weekend just because I wanted to work. I'd rather do that.
And you were working at Hayward's every
I was
weekend?
working
or
at
no?
Hayward's. Yeah. I just wanted to
An
keep
hour
putting
and
more hours
20,
in.
Yeah.
Probably each way, right?
Yeah. It wasn't ideal. So I transferred to Riviera to make that a little bit easier. But college wasn't for me and who I am and what I believe in, but I felt like it was the path that I was supposed to take.
Sure. Everybody's been telling you that since you were growing up.
Yeah. I mean, that's the plan that you're supposed to go. And if you're not, then people question what you do.
Shame on you.
The question
Yeah.
if you're even a human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I'm not, but
What was your degree? Was it marketing?
it was marketing and business management.
So that's the path that you're in now, and you can keep going. But a side question would be: do you feel like some of those classes helped where you're at like today, or at least to get your feet wet?
For who I am and for what they taught, I just felt like we're reading out of a textbook and it's outdated.
Really?
And it's like for me that like what I wanted to learn was following people and seeing how they did it, right? Not people telling me like, here are all the different areas we need to cover. I guess it's a good foundation, but I think there's no better experience than just getting your feet on the floor and going and doing it and talking with people and seeing how they do it. It's almost like find a mentor and learn that way, and you're going to grow a lot faster than sitting in school and hoping that you learn how to do PR work.
Right. Getting the experience. I mean, really, for anything you're trying to go to school for, you're not going to get that experience in college. You're going to learn about it, and don't get me wrong, there are definitely professions out there that you need to go to college for, but
Right.
for a lot of things in marketing and business specifically, like getting the experience is what's really going to put you ahead. You don't get any experience from going to college. You don't know how to, in management, you don't know how to manage people. They don't teach you how to manage all different kinds of people, and you don't see those people in person. So yeah, in my opinion, it's really hard to get that experience when you're in college.
So wait a minute. You're telling me that when you go to marketing and business classes, those people who are teaching those classes haven't actually participated in business or in marketing? No. Shut up.
It's true.
I don't believe that
It's
for
true.
a second.
And maybe if they have, it was probably 10, 15, 20 years ago. Like present day business is so different than a textbook that was written 15 years ago from their perspective that was 20 years ago or whatever, right? Like
But the textbook,
totally different.
but the textbook industry is booming because they do a new edition every year. So you have to buy a $500 textbook.
Honestly,
With the same text.
Yes. They just changed like a comma.
a new font on the cover.
New book cover.
I think like the best days in college for me were when they brought like entrepreneurs in to talk about like how they did it, what they did. I was actually glued, like I was in my seat, eyes glued to them, and attendance was high. And then other than that, it's like teaching is like you're making it boring for everyone to learn. We're now doers nowadays. We're not sit back, old school, learn from a textbook, listen to the teacher, eyes straight to the front of the room. Like we're doers now. Like we want to try things and be creative and fail and see what works, what doesn't, because it's changing every day. And that's the only way that you can get some experience. So.
And guess what? Those entrepreneurs that you've heard talk, you can pay to go see those at any conference you want.
Absolutely.
And it'll be a lot cheaper than college.
We're going to do that.
That's a great call.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
Come pay us and we'll take you through our stores, our marketing, our sales, our business. I love it. Okay, so Riviere. So you transferred to Riviere. What happened after Riviere?
Yeah, so Riviere, I started getting into the corporate world. I started getting into project management, actually, marketing project management. So I left Hayward's. The owner, I have a really close relationship with him. He understood. He understood that I went to college. Now I have to try to put, what I learned into action and try to get some of that experience. Right. And so I started working in that world, I thought it was great experience for me to get in there and meet, I had a really interesting role. I was like a young, 20-something-year-old telling 50-something-year-olds how to communicate with each other and have some leadership meetings and figure out what we want as goals in this company. And I was really eager, and I had a really cool role where I facilitated a lot of that stuff in the projects that we were working on. So that was a great opportunity. And then, after 3 years, the owner of Hayward's talked me back into coming back because he wanted to grow the business. And he's like, I want to start another location and I want to do all these different things and let's do it together. And I was really intrigued by that. So I left the job and I went back to more of the food business and getting my feet back on the ground with just getting back into management, but also figuring out how we can grow. Mm-hmm. And from there, we opened up a new location, which was an experience that I knew nothing about, that I had to learn quick and try to help them out with just some support. And then we were doing just like little different revenue streams. Like we opened up a catering side of the business and a food truck and started just testing different things. So it was a really cool experience for me because we just got to try different things and figure out how to make it grow. And then after that, COVID hit, and then I got back into the corporate world to get some traction on my career path again on the marketing side. So yeah, I'm actually coming from more of a corporate style, but it's not who I am at my roots.
Yeah.
You're a guerrilla warfare, guerrilla marketer.
Yeah.
You're getting back to that.
Yeah, which is fun. And it's not, like there's in the corporate world, like, and I can talk about this for a long time, but
Yeah.
there's just so many barriers, and there's, people that aren't on the same team. And Jeff, we were talking about this yesterday,
Totally.
where it's just like you go into meetings and it's about ego. It's about seeing who's wrong, or, what's messing up, and not an attitude of how to fix it. And I couldn't see myself there long term. So like I got this
Or
opportunity.
Jason hit you up, didn't he? Or did Maya?
It was
Or-
Maya.
It was both.
Tag
And-
team.
Yeah, and yeah, you guys reached out to me, and it was like the perfect timing to where I'm like, wow, this is way more up my alley and something I want to do. And it's not a suit type of job, and it's right.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with a nice jacket, though.
Yeah, nice little sports coat.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sports coat's
We
fine.
should
But
do a.
should we do a sports coat day?
We should do like.
I'm all in on that.
Just start walking around the
I'm
stores,
all in.
balling cookie dough.
That's great. I love that.
Oh, that's
Or
funny.
we should do like an outing or something where it's you
Formal,
you wear a
semi-formal.
nice jacket.
Okay.
Maybe a spring summer.
We'll call it the spring fling. No?
No.
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 Okay.
no.
All right. So we digress. My bad. What was I thinking? So,
You weren't.
okay. So corporate job, Hayward's, corporate, Hayward's, back to corporate. Then you saw the light at the end of the tunnel, which was a nice referral from Maya to Jason to starting some conversations with us, to 15 interviews and some funny ones towards the end.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Learned some things that maybe we'll leave off the podcast. But
For now.
Yeah, for now. But that leads us to today, to you being with us since October, and really you building out the marketing department of one, but of soon to hopefully be multiple and many more in the marketing department, as we have plans to grow it and help other entrepreneurs and business people learn it and grow it and utilize it for sales. So I just want to open it right now to all of us, but start with you, John. Where do you see the most growth? Because so it's a very easy question. Like, there's a lot of growth because we didn't have a marketing department, right? But where do you see some of the most kind of growth for our marketing as a company from when you came on to maybe now? And then maybe everybody can kind of answer that just on what we're seeing.
Yeah, I think the low hanging fruit was social media, getting content where eyes are currently. So I thought our social media plan was something that we really needed to carve out quickly. And we have tried all different things to try to bring people into the store. Our KPIs are driving sales into the store. And I think the first thing that we needed to make sure was that we are connecting with where people are. So I don't think the first step for us was to get a ton of radio ads out there, things in direct mail.
Right.
I think the easy thing to do first was to connect with people on social media platforms. So we saw a lot of growth there so far. We have a long way to go, but we're excited about that. And then, just doing some things in stores, some giveaways, promotions, trying different things, seeing what works in this market and testing, what we want to do to get people back into the store. We've seen some good things with. So
Yeah, I mean, us as business owners and entrepreneurs, we didn't have really the budget when we started out to really bring someone on like John, like a very specific marketing position. But as we grew and the revenue came in, it was always in the back of, I think, all of our minds was like, And if you talk to anyone in business who's really doing a great job, like they are driving hard in marketing and selling. Like it's always marketing and selling. Now, obviously, you got to have a phenomenal product, but you got to have that arm. And we always relied on our franchisor because that's typically for a lot of franchisor, franchisee, they're going to support you in that way, which, Crumble does. But once you reach to a certain point, like you should bring on a marketing individual. You should bring on someone that's driving that entire department to get sales. And it's beyond sales. And John, I'm sure we'll talk about what you've built out, which is phenomenal. And you've spent many months on this, but it's really a marketing kind of calendar and a marketing playbook that John has built out quarter by quarter. And we're now looking out, because he's now gotten ahead, we're now looking at 4 months, 5 months. But you have to have certain strategies to drive the revenue. But then also there's things that John's doing now to build culture between the customer and the brand, doing anniversaries, doing events. And we'll talk about kind of the things, like the 5 or 6 things we've decided to put money behind. But I think it's extremely important for business owners and entrepreneurs to consider putting money behind marketing, whether it's hiring someone on your team or, doing a third party and working with someone. But very excited that JB's on the team. This is phenomenal what we've got. And it's just the beginning, right?
Yeah.
We took, a month or 2 to really just get John on board and work through that. But I can really see like this year is going to be a monumental year from a marketing standpoint, creating content, pushing it out there, and honestly, just generating revenue, but then also building, a presence beyond just.
Yeah. And I'm going to turn it over to Jason here in a second to see what he's thinking as far as John coming on and where we're at now. But if you're not watching on YouTube, you're going to miss out because we're going to be putting up a little bit of graphics and information about our calendar and kind of what we're doing. So kind of give you a teaser on how that's going to look. So if you're not checking this out on YouTube, I would highly recommend you go over to YouTube, look at the Maguire Enterprise channel. You're going to see some of this stuff. The last episode we did, actually a couple episodes ago maybe, was Jeff and I with the profit and loss. Again, if you weren't watching on YouTube, you're not going to see the numbers. You're not going to see the net profits that we did. So check out the YouTube channel and you'll be able to see a lot more detail. Jason, bringing John on, where have you seen marketing kind of come from and then go to, maybe on the ops side, in-store, things like that?
Yeah, for sure. So the biggest thing, and John nailed this, is what works and what doesn't work. Before John came on, we would do silly little things inside the store, like guess how many M&Ms are in this jar.
Right.
Like we would do little side like promotions to try and get some customers to come in, but it really didn't stick. So bringing John on, like we've really started to learn what works and what doesn't work. We, like John said, social media is where we need to be. So that's where we are.
Yeah.
And doing like interviews. We had one of our super fans come on and do an interview with us, telling us why he loves Crumble, why he loves the store that he goes into all the time, and that probably had one of the most views, or was the video with the most views. So I think it's really about finding what works and what doesn't work, and it's going to change depending on what company you're in. For Crumble, we found that social media, interacting with our customers, having some real talk and finding out what people love about coming into Crumble. And then you can also target your marketing and what's working. So we have really great, at Crumble, we have really great LTO cookies right now that are doing really well. So if we target our marketing around those, it's just going to bring those sales up even more. So for me, the biggest thing from before John to now is just realizing what's working, what's not working, and where we want to spend our money, our focus, our time, because that's what's most important. Like you don't want to waste time doing these silly little things that aren't going to stick, they're not going to work. So you really want to focus on the things that are going to work. So having someone like John come on has made that so much easier to learn what actually sticks, what is actually going to bring customers into the door, because that's the bottom line. You want more sales, you want more customers, you want people to love your brand. So finding out what works, what sticks is the best thing that we've grown with.
What's cool about HQ is we've seen a lot of changes coming down the pipeline in 2024 and the end of 2023. So I think there's a lot of good content, a lot of good things coming from HQ in 2024 for the franchisee that we'll be able to really leverage We love the direction of the CEO and some things that are happening there. But when it goes back to us as a franchisee and having a marketing department, it's our job and it's your job if the business owner or entrepreneur or franchisee to create content and create assets that are relevant to your business, while staying within, the guidelines and things like that. If you do have a franchisor, and I think we've done a phenomenal job doing that every month. Again, we should talk about kind of the calendar workbook that JB's put together. Mm-hmm. But we've been very intentional trying to put content together that matches what HQ's doing, but then also is very relevant to our stores. The super fan, which we should definitely talk about, that Jason talked about. Like if you're a business owner, entrepreneur, and you are doing you're focusing, your business is with a customer. It's not like B2B, but it's B2C. Highlighting your customers, they love that stuff. Mm-hmm. And it is huge to show appreciation. And people really get to relate when they're just seeing other customers interacting with the brand or talking about the brand. So at the end of the day, though, you have to take action. It's your responsibility to drive sales. We put, I think, about 3% of our revenue. It's a certain percentage that the franchisor takes of our revenue and puts back into marketing. And then we, as a business owner, decide how much of revenue we want to put into marketing. It all depends, again, on how much revenue you want to put in, but you have to be smart about where that money gets put, right? Like we said, social media. You can waste a lot of money if it's not intentional and you're not tracking it. And that's what's really, really important. People just think, we'll just throw money at it, right? Here's 15 different marketing methods that we're going to do. Yet we're not tracking it, and we have no idea if it's successful or not. So we're practicing and testing that stuff. We're testing various methods of marketing, and then we're testing on the results. Sometimes it's a little bit tricky, a little bit limited to get actual true results kind of in the situation we're at. But with Pickler and Maguire Enterprise, we're going to be able to really zero in and track the customer journey from, dollar spent all the way to, or the dollar spend we spend from the business side to then what the customer actually does, buys, spends. And if you're not thinking about that or doing that in 2024, it's a major problem. And it took us a while to get to that point, but we're there. And I think we should jump into the calendar, kind of how you built that out.
And I'll add to that too. Like, I think a lot of people just assume that there's hurdles and assume that there's all these barriers. Right. And I thought something that I've learned while being here is like the communication is important. We have a Crumble coach, Charlize, who's awesome.
Love you, Charlize.
And we connect on weekly calls. And a lot of things that we had on our list, like, this would be nice to do, I think we assumed that we couldn't do it based on like what rules we've read before. And come to find out when talking to her and just simply asking, she was like, yeah, that's completely fine. And in fact, let me get you these assets. And no one has asked for these things. Right. So
it's amazing.
So it's like, I think just,
right.
Just having a relationship with HQ and understanding like who we can talk to try to get certain things from has been a huge help. But I think what people need to do is not assume that you can't do something and push it a little bit. See, like if they're willing to, we were talking about it yesterday, would they have us test certain things if it's a rule that they've had in place for a long time? Yeah. Are they willing to change their mind on something? So I think we're starting to learn that with Charlize and HQ that we can do that. And it just took some effort of trying to build that relationship and ask.
JB, you get me fired up.
JB,
you are getting me fired up.
Let's go.
But, Jason.
Yes.
Okay, calendar.
This is the idea. Hold on. I want to talk about this for a second. JB and had this idea. We want to run it by you. What if we could, and we're going to talk to the special person at HQ about
the powers
this,
that be.
The powers. What if we could like intentionally choose when we want to run certain LTO cookies? Like we decide and say, hey, like, or for like a mystery week, why don't we run an LTO?
I'm assuming
Or
they
we
would
wouldn't-
they
it
would
wouldn't let you?
definitely allow us as a mystery flavor. I can't imagine they would have a
Maybe there's rules around it now because the LTO is. But we were thinking, like, dude, why don't we choose to run more LTOs?
Yeah, we totally could for sure. And like to that point, like I think I was talking to James or someone about this, but like the Tres Leches cookie
Right.
was an LTO, did really
Yeah,
well.
when was
Coming
that?
up, we have Cinco de Mayo. I
Right.
feel like that's a perfect.
We need to do a taco cookie.
Yeah, that
I
was
feel like that's a perfect coupling for the Tres Leches cookie. Cinco de
Yes.
Mayo, you
Does
know.
Yes.
I've never had Trace.
Yeah,
so
well,
I
it's-
don't know.
Is it a Mexican type dish?
Yeah.
Okay.
Made Trace.
Yeah, Trace is Spanish.
Okay.
No, Trace.
Yes. Okay.
It
Uno,
is,
dos,
uh,
tres.
Yeah.
Three. Is it a 3-layer cookie?
But no, but I
It's a
agree.
cake.
Like, if we could intentionally like plan these LTO cookies around when we want them,
Yes.
That
I
could
think
be
that
huge.
could be huge for sure. Because there's more and more coming out.
Right.
Looking at our calendar,
Yes.
All right. This
our
is the live.
customers should
This
be
is going to be a
our
live
customers
podcast, so
should be
don't give it
excited
away.
because we have some really
Yeah,
exciting
get
flavors
excited.
True.
coming out.
Right.
I would never give away Crumble Secrets.
Of
No,
course,
never.
no. You've signed an agreement.
I have. So I would never give away those secrets, but keep an eye out because there's some really
Yeah.
incredible flavors coming out. And if we could choose when to sell those ones, like I think that could do really well.
Okay, last
Yeah,
thing
that's-
before we jump into the
'cause that's-
calendar, and we've got at least 30 minutes that I want to talk about the calendar, talking about strategic, tactical
Yes,
stuff
what we're
you are
doing.
doing that people can get information from, and maybe they can go try it, or they can come to us and we can help them out. But before we do that, I want to turn it over to Jason because Jason created this document. We call it the DPC, and he created this document. Basically, it's a whole bunch of data. And I don't know if you have access to it, or if we could pull it up. That would be really cool if we could pull that up. But while I'm talking about it, Jason, I want you to give us some insight. Jason had this idea to create this DPC, and it's actually going to be up on the screen, and we'll get it up on the screen so you can take a look. There's a lot of data there. But Jason, as you created this out, why is this so important now that we have a marketing department and someone that can strategically and tactically and surgically put marketing into specific places? Talk to me a little bit about that, why that's so important to have so much data like this.
For sure. So this sheet is your one-stop shop. It has your sales data from each day, shows some of our metrics that we care about that really matter to our company and things that we just want to nail on a store level. But on top of that, you see what each customer is spending. And this is for all of our stores separate. So you see what each customer is spending. So for one of our stores, we realized that the average spend for a customer is a lot lower than the rest of our stores.
Yeah.
So maybe they're buying smaller boxes of cookies. So from a marketing standpoint, that's one avenue that we can look at where it's like, okay, like how do we market to customers to come in and buy those bigger size boxes, the 6-pack, the 12-pack? How do we get customers to spend more money on average in this one specific store? So that's one avenue that you can take. The other thing that we have on this sheet is we have a weather and event column. So you're putting everything in there from if it was a snow day and you were closed to whether it was a holiday week or if we were running any marketing promotions. And then this is tracked year over year. So all of these forms from 2024 are going to be on this sheet again for 2025 in a different section off to the right. So when we are looking at it on the current week, so in 2025, we're going to look back and say, oh, okay, in March of 2024, here's St. Patrick's Day. This is where we were at. This is why we saw a jump in sales. And this is our St. Patrick's Day promotion that we ran. And this is the week that it ran. So did that bring in extra customers?
Yeah.
Did that bring in extra sales? If so, how much? And did it work? So now John can look at this next year and he's looking, running into March. We're thinking about doing a March promotion or a St. Patrick's Day promotion. And he's looking and he'll say, okay, well, it didn't really work. So maybe we either switch up the promotion or maybe we are a little bit more strategic on when we do that promotion. So, or maybe it did work. Maybe, yeah, look at these sales. Like our sales jumped up substantially and there's no other thing going on that week outside of this promotion that we're running. That probably tells me that worked. So this can be a huge asset to John looking forward in because it tracks year over year, because it shows sales trends through all of your stores. So he can look at this and use this as a tool to really judge where he's going to target that marketing, whether it's bringing sales up in one store on average, or the promotion that we had done last year. Did it work? Did it not work? What the holidays are coming up, what the weather did, like, so he can have a really good gauge on whether or not these marketing things are working based off of the data that we have on this.
That's fantastic. Okay, let's dive into the strategic and the tactical. And if you guys don't have this type of a spreadsheet for your business, I mean, you're missing out. We didn't have it for a while. Jason came up with this. He'd used it in the past at some other things, customized it for Crumble. Let us know. Reach out to us. This is something we could potentially do for you. Shoot us a DM. Reach out to us. We can help out. John, let's start talking about some tactical stuff. What are we doing today in the past couple of weeks? What are we doing that we are and we should maybe start with the super fan. This was a great freaking idea. Yep. But what are we doing to make customers want to come into our stores?
Well, I think before that.
Thanks, John, for starting us off, John.
I'm going to start
This
us
is
off.
my assistant.
Okay, yeah.
I'm assistant to the regional manager here.
Dish pit guy.
Yeah. Okay, buddy. But no, the strategy is really important. So I think, JB, if you could explain why you put together 4 quarters, the format of your kind of marketing playbook, right? Like, help us understand this, and then obviously then break down kind of the very specific initiatives by month and the intentionality behind that. Because there's a lot of freaking work put into this.
And again, if you're not looking at the YouTube, you are missing out. So you got to jump on the YouTube.
Yeah, so there's so many different ways that you can go with marketing, different areas to cover, especially in a business like this where there's always promotions happening. There's things going on with HQ that they're going to change up on us. But our biggest thing is we want to make sure that we are prepared for what's coming up, because there's holidays, there's just random weeks that HQ will do, promotions or LTO cookies. That we want to make sure that we're looking from a macro level and we're not just in the weeds all the time and not seeing what the path in front of us is. So what I did was I created a Google Doc here. On the tabs below, it's each quarter that we have. And then in each tab, it's divided into the months within those quarters. And then we just have different sections. One section is for holidays. One section is for what HQ has told us that they're going to do so that we can understand, is there going to be an uptick this week? Do we want to capitalize on these moments? Do we want to support this in other ways with in-store promotions that we want to do? And then we have events that we're starting to implement as well. So there's another section here for events. So one of our goals this year is to get our feet on the ground a bit more in these communities, doing more grassroots marketing, talking with people. As an example, in December, we did a small basketball jamboree. I have connections to this person.
John has connections.
Yes. You worked really well with this guy.
I worked really well with this guy. But I learned a lot at that small event. We have 2 locations in Nashua, and some people were just saying, "Oh, I didn't know you guys had a location there." And so it made me realize, like, we need to be in these communities a bit more, talking to people. It's not the only way, but it's a piece of what we're trying to do of, can we get more word of mouth marketing out there? I think there is still strength in that. So we have a whole section for events. So what we're doing is in each market, we're really trying to load it up for 2024. And we're not trying to do an event every week, but we're trying to be intentional about what events we choose, what's going to give us a good ROI, what's going to be, if it's a major event that town does that year, we want to see if we can get involved and what options there are. So we created a whole section for that, and we can see how it aligns with other things that are going on. So if we see slower weeks within these months, like maybe we want to supplement that with like a cool event, whether we're creating that event and we're, doing our own thing, or we're really digging into what these towns are doing if there's something that we can get into. So those are like the 3 major things that we have for sections on here, just to keep us understanding what our week to week looks like. And it also helps us understand that in 3 weeks, we have a big event that's coming up quicker than we think.
Right.
So this is sort of outlined in a way that you can see that easily in a snapshot.
Yeah.
Now, we don't want to add every note to the event in all these, otherwise this becomes flooded.
Yeah.
But again, this is a macro view of what's going on HQ, what holidays are coming up, what events we're getting involved in, where we need to get involved in. And then along with those sections, there's different branches of marketing that are really important to us right now. So we'll have sections like meta ads, what ads we're doing to support some of these things, or as I can talk about in a second, finding campaigns like our superfan campaign and trying to get creative of like filling some of those weeks that maybe don't have a lot going on, but we can run a cool creative for that. We also have third-party delivery, things like that. So how we can get certain promotions for holidays, and we're going to do a lot more with that. And then just other things, landlords, how can we connect with our landlords and see if they have, social media accounts that we can cross promote with, or if there's other tenants in those areas that we want to do some things. We have email and SMS. Right now, we're not doing anything with SMS, but email, we want to figure out ways that we can target people. For instance, a big priority coming up right now is catering. Working on our catering business. We have wedding season that people are planning
Wedding
for.
season.
So
Are you, by the way, if there's any ladies listening, are you single, John?
yes, I am available. My number is I'm just kidding.
He's a sharp looking man. Again, get on the YouTube channel.
Listen,
Link in the description below. So
get your criteria out there.
yeah,
Let's put it in.
We'll get the link tree out there.
5'7", 5'8".
Yeah, we can
Nice
boost it up, keep it
smile,
going.
blue eyes.
Enjoys long walks on the beach.
Credit score plus 800
plus.
Yep.
Okay,
minimal
good.
debt.
Good.
A puggle named Frankie. That's the biggest seller.
Wait, are you
Okay.
in Men in Black, Frankie?
That's where he got his name.
Incredible. I like
Yeah,
that.
Agent Frank.
We should get him on the podcast.
We're all for it. Anyways, we digress a little. But yeah, other than that, it's like partnerships. Like we want to work on some small influencers that are maybe bigger in our areas that we want to connect with.
You guys haven't reached out to me.
You're a busy guy. You're a busy guy.
Your
Just
staff
DM me.
hasn't gotten back to us yet.
Yeah. So yeah, this is sort of just like the snapshot of everything. And, there's things around this that we're trying to help with as we're trying to communicate with our staff and doing weekly meetings and weekly emails to try to help them see the snapshot.
Because otherwise, you don't want to get your management or your team too overwhelmed. Does that make sense? You don't want to get them too overwhelmed with data and information, I'm assuming.
Correct. Yeah. So there's a million things that we can tell the rest of the team to try to keep everyone in the loop. But the biggest thing is just making sure that they have the essentials. What's happening this week? What's happening next week? Things to keep in mind as we move forward. One initiative that we're going to be working on is we have TVs in all the locations, and we want to find a way that we can get, people a quick snapshot of what the latest is. We have a lot of college kids that come back, that leave for a couple months, then come back that have no idea what's happening. We have people that may not work as often. So it's the communication piece is just as important as putting all these plans together and making sure everyone's on the same page.
Yeah, dude, you nailed it, man. Because the other aspect is you can put all the money and time, into the marketing department, the plan, the assets. There's a lot of, how many hours you put in? 40 hours plus on really marketing, right? But from Jason's standpoint in operations, like if we struggle executing on the initiatives that JB's got or we suck at customer service, our lobbies are dirty,
Right.
the consistency of the quality, like you got to have everything operating really well for the marketing to work, because you spend all the money, drive foot traffic into the place, and then if you're closed early and no one's smiling and you're on your phone, it's a total waste, right? So I'm glad you mentioned that, because with Planet, we would spend so much money on traditional marketing, and I would always think, I'm like, man, what is the drop rate where you're getting, and it cost us, whatever, 30, $40 to get that person in the building, and then we didn't close on them.
Right.
So it's the same thing with this. Like, we're spending a decent amount of money on marketing, but are they buying? Are they coming to the store? And if they are, from a customer service standpoint and an operations standpoint, are you delivering? So that's really, really important too. You can't have terrible operations.
Well, and I would just double down on that and say that you need to nail it. It's a hand in hand, but you got to nail the operations almost first.
You have to. Yeah.
You have to nail the operations first, train the team, and be exceptional at the product and the service. Otherwise, like Jeff said, you're just throwing money out the window. You're going to bring them in and be like, man, I wish I wouldn't have seen that ad or waste my time.
Right.
Right. And there's a lot of businesses like that. We definitely have work to do. We're not perfect. Our teams are not perfect. Our stores, we do well, but to not waste, our money,
effort,
time. Investment, we've got to make sure that we nail the operations, which is why Jason, Ashley, our regional managers and partners,
and managers.
And managers communicate with John on a regular basis. Hey, here's what's coming up. Let's make sure we nail this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, and we're on the same team, right? Like we talked about this in the meeting the other day, is like my KPIs are the same as their KPIs. We're all trying to drive business to the store. So I think that's important for everyone to align in that sense, because I do think people will hire a marketing person and they'll just let them run with it. And everyone has different goals.
Yeah, 100%.
You're totally right. Jay, how does this help you? Now you're seeing like, hey, I can see 3 months at a time. I see the initiatives. To your point with the DPC, which I think, JB, that's something we should probably consider like next time we meet, like talking about some of like the real unique things that we're tracking and seeing per store, right? How do we double down on the marketing? But Jason, from your perspective, like how does this, I guess, just help you from your perspective with the business from an operations?
Yeah. So, I mean, again, it's a one-stop shop. You get to see not only all the holidays that are coming up, but you get to see the HQ promotions that are coming up, the events that we're doing on our own. So for me, like operationally, I can talk to our team. I can talk to the managers who are doing our schedules on the stores.
Right.
I can see something coming up that says, oh, it's Easter week, or hey, we're doing this wedding expo. We're going to be doubling down on the wedding season. So I can prepare our team to either be ready for a busy week, staff up, get some extra people in, or when it comes to like the wedding expo, I'm now expecting us to have a little uptick in wedding catering orders.
Yes, right.
So I'm going to talk to our team and I say, listen, guys, we got to dial in. We have to stay focused. We have to absolutely nail these catering orders that are coming in, and we have to pay a little bit more attention to them. If it's for somebody's wedding, we want that to be perfect. We want it to be stress-free for the bride and groom. So to see this and to see what we have going on and seeing what John's doing on his end, and also in my position, I'm really like tied to you guys. We work really well together, very closely together. So I kind of know what's going on and what's coming up, but to see it here, I can really prepare our team, prepare our stores, and make sure that we execute these things really well. There is 4 quarters here, and it's a lot of months, a lot of weeks, a lot of data here. So I'm not going to remember what's coming up in April. But if I can go on here and say, okay, like I'm just going to focus on this current week so I know that we can nail this and do it correctly. So I'm going to look up, I'm going to say, okay, next week's coming around. Let me see what we have going on for marketing events. And then I can go and talk to our team and say, hey, did you put this thing out on our point of sale so we can advertise, and so we are putting our best foot forward on this promotion? So looking at this, I know exactly what's coming up. I know exactly which week it's coming up, so I can coach our team and hold our team accountable to make sure that we are all on the same page moving forward and getting everything done the way it needs to get done.
I love that. So we've got the ops is being utilized super well because of the strategic calendar and planning that you've done, John. We're able to, surgically nail the customer, really hammer it out on the ops side. Now, what are some practical, tactical things that we're doing? And let's start with the super fan.
Yeah.
That was a freaking great idea.
Super fan. Everyone needs a super fan.
Everyone needs a super fan. So we're lucky to be a part of a franchisor that has an amazing product, right? So with that comes super fans. Like we have people that are at our store sometimes every day, sometimes twice a
Karen,
week.
I mean,
Sometimes.
Karen kills it.
Karen absolutely kills it. Yeah. And I guess this all sparked with, we were giving free cookies for a year, a special card where they get a 4-pack every week for the year of 2024. We ran a campaign in December trying to get people to do a video review of them just trying the cookies and telling us what they think, and using a special hashtag just so we can get the word out there a little bit more, test the cookies, see what personalities are out there. And we had an awesome personality with someone named Karen, who was just a raving fan, that she would come in December, and she didn't do one video. She did
A bunch.
more than 10, I think. And she was, entering the store all fired up. One day with an elf costume, one day with a Grinch costume. And it's like, we started to think like, we have to connect with these people more and reward them and be a part of that experience with them, and find a way to show other people like how great our product is. Cause some people haven't tried Crumble. So it may help from hearing it from people that are actual fans, not from the people that work there and are a little bit biased.
Right.
So we decided to do some videos. I contacted Karen. We spoke to our managers and figured out, who are some of these super fans that are great personalities that, have a positive attitude, that just love coming in every single week. And we got a couple of those people and started just recording them, asking them questions about, hey, why do you love Crumble so much? What gets you back into the store? What are some of your favorite cookies? What's been your experience like with our staff here? Just getting some of the storytelling piece of it, because I believe that's what resonates. I think there's two things that resonate with people: is storytelling, is really understanding like why they do things. And then the other thing is people seeing people that they know. I think gone are the days are the stock photos of just corporate-y look online and saying, come try Crumble, and moving towards just authentic customers talking, us talking about the product, being ourselves, not putting on a show in front of people. And so we just tried to capitalize on that moment. We did a couple of videos. The first video that we did was of a guy named Anthony in our Nashville location, who just crushed it. He was like a natural on camera. I barely had to coach him in anything. And he just did his thing, talked about Crumble in an authentic way, why he loves it, how he figured out Crumble was here. And I just chopped that video up in a short, digestible video that we can run ads on and target to specific locations. And then what we did with each of those ads in each market was we tailored the wording to that market. Nice. But it's really just a fan in Nashua that is sharing his experience. And we just put it out there and tried that campaign, and it did so well. We had really good clicks that we saw on that. We saw really good reach because there were people engaging in it. Right. There's the most, it was the most commented video. Some, in the Nashville markets, a lot of people are saying, I know Anthony.
Yeah.
What were some of the reach? It was in the 100,000s plus, right?
Yeah, it was 100,000 plus.
For Nashua, that's really good. I mean, for that area, that region that we were targeting, it's not like we were targeting nationwide. We were targeting that specific area. That's a good amount of reach.
We need to do I think we talked about this, like a campaign with Anthony.
We should. He could be an ambassador. Maybe he should be an ambassador.
I think he's the next president of Crumble.
Watch out, Jason McGowan. We got a new CEO coming.
Yeah, we should do like a season with him. It's like a documentary.
That would be I like that. We could drive him around in the pink Crumble truck. Okay, write this down.
I'm
Documentary.
It down as we speak.
It's going on the calendar, people. It's going on the calendar.
It's 2 a.m. I've had a 6-pack of cookies.
I can't eat any more, but I have to. He goes around to every single crumble in the country. Imagine
Oh,
that.
would be
All
great.
1,000. That could be good.
A tour bus.
Yes.
We have a little tour bus going.
That would be
Wow.
wild.
This is,
Anthony.
this
Sleeps
is
in the
really
crumble truck.
escalating.
He's
here.
writing books now. He's making money.
I love it.
Book
That's
signing.
funny.
Yeah.
So that's a super fan, and that has done super well. And our goal behind it is really we just want to highlight the customer.
Yeah, just
We're
take
we're
care of
not
them.
asking them to come in and buy. We're not. There's no click to order now or anything like that. It's really just highlight the customer so that other people can see Anthony's experience.
Mhm.
And again, it goes back to operations. We got to nail it.
Right.
We got to nail it for Anthony and everyone else.
And sometimes you just have to try. Like try the campaign. Like we almost did this as a filler and just like we thought it would do well, but we just weren't sure of how well it would do. And if we just never tried because we thought other ideas were good, we would have never nailed this. So it was great.
And I think that the amazing thing about social media is like that is the new way of communication and connection, right? I mean, we heard this at Patrick Bet David's conference last year at the Vault. A lot of the people we interact with and that we follow on social media that do have a good presence and are pretty big entrepreneurs and business owners, they all say social media is the new media. Like the traditional stuff's dying. But what's cool is you don't have to put tens and thousands of dollars into marketing on social media to have an incredible reach or influence or impact, right? Because it's all organic. Once it starts to get engagement, there's people commenting, they're liking it, the algorithm starts to churn and starts to push it out. So I personally believe that it's probably for us in our current business, it's the best way to spend money and the best way to reach our audience. Like our audience is there. And so you do have to be thinking about like, where's your audience? What do they look like? Kind of like the customer persona, right? And then where are they at? And then how are you then going to engage with them and what's most relatable to them? So take some thinking and some thought, but it's important.
Right.
And you need to spend time and you need to spend money on the most important areas. And then what JB was talking about earlier is you then layer below that, like what are the other tertiary kind of areas that you could be spending money and effort into that support that?
Yeah.
And that's why we've probably only got 8 kind of areas that we put attention to at this point. But yeah, it's social media and having a super fan, and you should be doing it. Everyone should be doing it.
Yeah, I think as soon as you shift your mindset to we need to provide the customer with value versus like we just need to sell this, I think things change. And I mean, Gary Vee wrote a whole book about this, jab, 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 right hook, about constantly giving value and content, and then you ask for, get them and ask for the buy. And he said too, as well, it's like as soon as you shift your mindset from we are an ice cream business to we are a media company and we sell ice cream. We have a media company that sells ice cream. I think that's sort of the new world of marketing, of like getting that content out and understanding that that is a priority. It's not just a nice to have. It's not just we're on social media doing things here and there. It's like you have to be a media company and show people what you're doing and working on, because there's just so much competition. It's the easiest way to stand out.
As we kind of wrap up, what are some other rapid fire tactical things that we've tried, done, seen a little bit of success in,
or going to do,
or
and there's
going
some
to
cool
do
things that JB's got in the works?
Yeah.
Let me see. Let me just
So I
look
know-
at my doc.
Yeah, no, I know recently, right? Most recently we just did St. Patrick's and we did a free cookie with the card, which I thought was freaking brilliant.
Yeah.
You struck gold, which was a phenomenal kind of like tagline there. Thought it was
Yeah, we're trying to hit people in different ways. So like doing these events are trying to get people that have never tried our cookies to come in and try our cookies. So, in one way we're trying to get people just in the door, and that's one type of customer. Right. But there's also the customer that's already in the door that how do we get to come back? So like we don't want just one and done, sales. We want to get people hooked And we believe that if we just get them in the store a couple of times more than what they're used to, they're going to like the product and want to come back more often. So what we did for St. Patty's Day was start going on the approach of how do we just get the person back into the store in a certain time period. So for up to, what was it, 250 boxes, we threw a You've Struck Gold card for St. Patty's Day themed on a promo code that gives them a free cookie on their next visit. And then we limited their time to redeem that cookie, not that day, but the week after for the next 2 weeks. And so we're actually going to see how those results came out pretty soon. But we're testing, are people actually redeeming these? What markets are redeeming these the most?
And we can tell, right? Because it's a
We're
promo.
working with HQ,
we have
yeah.
have the way to track if those have been redeemed.
Yeah, and it does two things. It gets them back in the door, but it also makes them download the app. So they have to download the app to redeem the code. And yeah, we're just trying to get them back in the door, and we're going to see those results soon. But we're also seeing, are people coming back the following week more, or are they coming back? Are they holding on to that card? But we would never know any of these stats if we just did your typical marketing of handing out free cookie cards, and they can redeem that whenever they want. So we're trying different things out that are going to help with that. We had a campaign that failed. We had our Valentine's Day with our Stanley Cups, and of course that.
Well, that was due to
nothing we could do. I mean, we had some Karens, not our Karen, but we had some Karens that got on the social media.
We didn't put the iron in there.
The one
It was lead. It was lead.
Yeah, it was the 1 week we did. Yeah, we were doing Stanley Cup giveables, and of course,
crush it.
I think it would have too. But this is part of marketing and the, pop culture and what happens and what's going on. Things could change real quick. But I thought we did a good job pivoting.
Yeah, I did.
And just as a background, we're giving away Stanley Cups for Valentine's Day, and we had a whole campaign around that. And it was the 1 week that Stanley had an article come out with all these TikTok moms that are saying, I did a test and there was lead in these. And it was good for us in the marketing department and figuring out how we can pivot quick. What do we have for backup? How can we make this work? And instead of complaining and saying it didn't work, so it was good to see some things fail too. Just trying.
Well, there's a wise man that once said, there's no such thing as bad publicity. And I don't want to trigger anybody.
I don't think that did anything to Stanley. And
No. I'm just
Stanley's
saying.
crushing it.
No, they're still crushing it. I'm just saying, no such thing as bad publicity. Because the name's still getting out there.
Oh,
and it probably
100%. went
out there even more.
For sure.
Somebody who's never even heard of Stanley. Oh, what's this Stanley lead thing? Oh, that cup looks cool. I'm going to get one. I bet you their sales spiked.
I actually bet they did too.
I bet they did.
Yeah, I think
it's
so.
wild.
But what are a couple other things that you're trying, JB? You did the wedding, and I know we're planning for catering because we know graduations are happening in May, and then for college, and then June you got high schoolers graduating.
Yep.
So you've got that we're thinking about. You just did the wedding expo.
Yeah, we did a wedding expo this last Sunday, connected with a bunch of different vendors. Most people that were there were bride and grooms. We, we're giving away a free catering package. And so we did a lot at this expo to just get our name out and understand that there's so many different things that you can do with Crumble and weddings. We're testing that market out, but I think it's going to do really well. We're also doing different events with different organizations in towns. We're doing cookies and cops in Salem. We're going to try to
Sorry,
get
donuts.
Sorry, donuts. We're up next.
We like to get the cops all juiced up on cookies. We're also doing a cruise. It looks like sending a lucky fan to a cruise. John's going on a cruise. Any single ladies? Just
Okay,
in case.
Mr. Beast.
Yeah, I have one. We're giving away one extra ticket to the cruise. One extra ticket.
And it's got to be a single female between the age of 25 and 35.
What's the credit score gonna be?
Yeah, well, I'll have a whole. Yeah,
We'll send out a survey.
accepting resumes. So yeah, we're just getting involved with different events in different areas.
Oh, Old Home Day, that we're gonna crush that.
Yeah, like
That's
with
gonna be an
3-day
on-site
events.
sale.
So yeah, that we just were able to get access to sell cookies that are not in our stores. So we're gonna try to see if that's a new revenue stream for us. And yeah, we have a big event in town that is a 3-day event that we're just gonna see if we can crush some cookies at.
We're gonna
So
sling some cookies that day.
we
So,
are.
and that's and what JB said earlier is you look at your locations and then kind of decide the tactical things you can do around that. So that event is in Hudson, so it encumbers a couple locations, but Together Days is up in Portland, Maine.
Yep.
And JB's locked that in, and that's going to be for our Portland, Maine location, another
Yep.
really big community event, a lot of food, a lot of foot traffic.
And we're gonna partner that with recruiting.
Correct.
So it's
No,
going to
that's
be
great. Right.
it's going to be sales, marketing, and also recruiting talent. And so
Yes, that's
with
so
these
true.
events, you can do multiple things. Don't waste the event just to sell cookies, to sell product, to sell whatever. Build your brand, get content,
Get
which we'll
content.
probably
I was
do.
gonna say that's an
Get
underrated-
content with
yeah.
customers, sell cookies, sell product, and recruit. Hire good talent because that you never know who's going to be there.
Yeah, and Jacob's going to be up there. I think we were talking
Correct.
about that. So, and that's actually, James, you're freaking smart.
I'm smart,
You're
by the
smart.
way. Hold on. Clip this, edit
yeah,
this.
that's
Edit
going
this.
right
James
on
is
Instagram
smart.
Reels.
James is wicked
Okay.
smart.
Why?
But no, I mean, just to double down
Oh.
on that. Because a lot of us, even my mind prior, when I thought about events or like things outside the traditional, I guess, work structure, I'm like, well, it requires a ton of time, it's effort. Like, what's the point? I'm doing this one thing. But when you can think and like branch outside of that, I mean, James just talked about 3 or 4 things that you can do beyond just selling the products. And obviously for us, that's like one of the most important things, right? Is driving new revenue. But now we're going to have Jacob go up there and recruit. So now we're going to find really capable talent for 4 hours.
Mhm.
We're going to now get content for
Mhm.
future marketing initiatives. And then just from a branding standpoint, you're pushing your brand. We'll probably do some giveaways. So it's just simple-minded thinking that I had prior of some of this stuff. But when you can then kind of peel it off and think about the different options, I don't know.
Even
Just-
networking at these
And-
things, like with other vendors that are there.
That's such a
At
good
the
point.
wedding expo, I was talking to different people about like, what other wedding events are you doing? What do you see that is working and what's working? And this guy was telling me like, don't go to these events, go to this event. It's worth your money. We got a ton of business from this event that happened in Massachusetts. And I mean, we had a real estate agent that was at the wedding expo. She was handing me her card. And so I was talking to her about how can we get the office involved with getting cookies for, your open houses or a welcome home gift. And seeing how we can kind of scale that a little bit and get more, people involved. So yeah, I would say networking is also another underrated thing that people don't think about when they're just thinking about it on the surface. So
Yeah.
So this is taking
huge.
time for us
Yeah.
to develop a mindset away from just being so focused on the store and being so focused on operations and sales to let's step back and let's work on the business. And it's taken time and it's not been easy and it takes
Just getting
revenue.
started, yeah.
And it takes, you can't bring a marketing team on day one, maybe, because you got to run the store and you got to bring in revenue and you got to pay off debt and all those things. So we get that. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to build out this platform of how do we help people? How do we test these things? And then how do we help business owners and entrepreneurs to maybe get involved in that and hire out a John or hire out a marketing department instead of bringing on a John because, John is a hard person to find. Someone who has an entrepreneurial spirit
Yep.
and a creative mind is a very hard thing to find. And we're super grateful to have him on the team and to grow. Hopefully the next 50 years we'll be old and decrepit.
We will not be old.
Probably
nor
not old and
decrepit.
decrepit. But the point is it's a very daunting task and it's taken us a while to finally get to this point. We're really excited to see where this is going to go.
Yeah.
And I think I would say once a quarter minimum, we should do
We should
a
do
podcast
this. Yeah.
like this, talk about what's worked, what hasn't worked,
100%.
what we can change, and just
And-
really bring some value to people.
Yeah, that's the whole point. What you said with Gary Vee is we want to bring value to people, to entrepreneurs, to business owners. This is why we're doing this, and hopefully soon we'll be able to actually maybe provide services for you. Maybe it's creating content or assets or helping you with your website or literally just game planning your marketing calendar.
Yeah.
And saying like, hey, what do you have for assets? What is the franchisor doing for you? We can put a map together for you and just help you plan.
Yep.
Because it is. I mean, most entrepreneurs are not gifted in every like department, right? So you have someone who's gifted like JB who can say, all right, I can vision this out for you for a quarter, and here's where I see the opportunities or, the reach we could get here, or have you tried this? So that is our ultimate goal, is to provide a ton of value for you. Because you're probably not a nonprofit, and you do got to drive revenue to make payroll and make
Right.
rent and all that stuff, and we can overlook the whole marketing side of things. So
Well, this has been great. We're going to wrap this thing up. Again, like we said, check out the YouTube because there's going to be some great video footage on there from the calendar, from the DPC that Jason shared. Really, really important stuff. Take it, use it, share it with other people. We'd love to hear some feedback. And John, appreciate you being with us, man.
Thanks, guys.
This was great.
honestly, it's
So-
better to have you in the seat than shooting.
I know. I'm
Absolutely.
not used to being in front of the camera. So
Well, let me just say the makeup looks good.
thanks.
Oh, yeah.
Appreciate it. I didn't think you'd notice.
We'll catch you guys on the next one.